Always record.
Hello, nomads, and welcome to the Nomads of Fantasy. Very particularly fantasy for this episode. With me, I have Brandon.
What is light without the darkness?
Darkness. And we have Dave.
Oh. I require the solace of the shadows in the dark of the night. Sunshine is my destroyer.
Oh, the very darkness is flowing through me.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, he gives away how to kill him. Like, dude, just say that out loud.
Oh my gosh. If you don't recognize these quotes, they are from the 1985 Ridley Scott directed epic dark fantasy adventure. A lot of different things going on here.
Unknown,
Right.
forgotten film by Ridley Scott.
Legend.
Yeah,
It is Legend.
What's up with that?
Very generic name.
Yes, we're talking about Legend this week. It's come up a couple times just in the Discord. I think a friend of the podcast, like T, just mentioned it once or twice. You guys were talking about it too, wanting to do it for the show. I had never heard of this movie before you guys brought it to the table, which I was surprised to learn that it was directed by Ridley Scott because, I mean, obviously of Alien fame. We all know his big movies, but this is, I guess, one of his lesser known ones because I had never heard of it. So, what?
Yeah, it's a box office bomb. Yeah,
Technically, was it? I didn't even no idea it was by Ridley Scott. I was given a good
Oh yeah,
I remember having.
It didn't even make back
its
didn't make back its budget when it came out. So I'd call that a bomb.
Yeah, it cost $25 million to make, and
in 1985.
And they made 22 million, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 23 and a half. Something. Yeah.
Right, and this movie, I think I didn't really check this too much, but I looked at the how much it cost to make Alien. I mean, I think that was like $8 million. It was less than 10 million, and it made 130 million or something. It made a boatload of money. Yeah, I got the numbers in front of me, but it's like, of all the movies, let me see here. This is Gladiator. He was given 103 million.
I bet that was an expensive movie. Yeah.
$465 million. For Escape from New York, which I think came out before this. 81 movie. Yep, this is 85. He was given a budget of $6 million. Totally a B movie, but just like the way it's filmed.
Yeah.
But he made 25 million on that, and he did Alien. Alien was 11 million, so I was off on that. $11 million and made $187 million. Very impressive in 1979. So he goes and he makes Legend for 25 million. He's given a legit budget this time, and did not work out.
I feel like
so.
This was his fourth movie then.
No, I think there's a couple other movies. He did I think an Elvis movie with Kurt Russell. I think it's called Elvis.
I feel like we regard Ridley Scott as like one of the greats in forms of in terms of directors. He's made some amazing movies, obviously. Alien, Blade Runner. Gladiator. But he's also made some stinkers. Like, if you look at his filmography, a lot of the films he's directed, I'm like, I've either never heard of, and if I look it up, it's like not critically acclaimed. So like he's got his high highs, but he also has his low lows, which is very interesting. I mean, he's had a long career, so it's not surprising.
Yeah. I wouldn't, and I don't know this. It's kind of cool what they tried to do. I was watching some like YouTube making of videos, and like they wanted to make like the classical fairy tale kind of movie.
Oh, for Legend?
Yeah. And I think at a certain point it just got to be like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. Because I wanted to see more actually. I didn't know that there were so many versions. I take it we all watched the
I didn't
Amazon
either.
version.
Yeah, I watched
There's 4
the
versions
just
out
whatever
there.
was on Prime. Yeah, rented it.
There's a
Yeah,
whole
we all probably watched the American version, but in my
Theatrical
childhood,
version,
I
I
have
think it
seen.
said.
Yeah, I've seen the European theatrical
Okay.
that
growing
has
up.
like a completely
noticed
different
that there were some-
soundtrack.
Dude, I cannot believe it. Yeah, the guy who scored like I don't know, Alien or whatever, is the one that scored this movie. It's supposed to have a like an orchestra, like all these instruments, but
Yeah.
It was
in
all fucking
they were like,
synth.
nah.
It was all just synthy, like weird. I don't know.
Very weird, very 80s.
Yeah, very 80s.
So
Yeah. Tangerine Dream
it's just
is the music for the US version.
yeah,
Jerry Goldsmith
yeah.
for the European version.
When so I'm the one that advocated for this movie. It was my pick. I was really pushing it, knowing that this is going to be probably worse than your experience with Willow, right? But Willow, you saw, and
Me
you're like,
specifically, are you talking to?
well, I guess I am, because like when you saw I mean, you were younger. You weren't even born when that movie came out. We were kids when it came out. Totally nostalgic. But it's nice to see certain fantasy movies before Lord of the Rings because I truly believe Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, was like what Star Wars did for sci-fi is what Lord of the Rings did for fantasy. I think. I have never seen
Good
fantasy
comparison.
Yeah.
done where it was like this is it, this is what everyone has to do. The bar has been set.
Standard,
right?
the new standard, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just like to see movies from the 70s and 80s doing fantasy. I think is important if you are a fan of the genre because you have to. I mean, they didn't have Lord of the Rings to go off of. They had Tolkien's books, but they didn't have the movies.
Yeah.
Those movies actually had these movies, and it's interesting because when you see movies like Wizard of Oz, when you watch even like Willow, when you watch Willow, like and then you watch Fellowship of the Ring, and maybe the other ones, there are scenes. Yeah, definitely in the other two movies. In that trilogy, there are scenes that are plucked from movies that inspire them. And I just think with Ridley Scott, I think he was given the shot. It just didn't land. But I think a lot of people did see this movie and they just didn't like it. Or maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like it had its moment, but
Yeah.
I don't think people are really
Well, it's not
liked it. And it's because nobody was really doing good fantasy.
Right.
well, it's not really an action movie. It's not really
It's an adventure.
like a heavily like dramatic movie either. It is, yeah, it's kind of
It's a
like-
fantasy adventure.
there's a shitload of practical sweet ass practical effects that went into this one, which I kind of
Well,
really like some of the
where
sets
the
that
money
they put
went.
together.
you say that was the strongest part of the movie, in my opinion, was just the makeup and the
100%.
costume, which it was nominated for an Oscar for the makeup, and like
As it
deservedly so, like with the character design and everything. But just to give my initial thoughts before we get
would
too
love to
far
hear
into the
this,
conversation.
Eric, the guy who's not even 30 years old,
Almost.
seeing this random ass fantasy movie that no one's even mentioned or referred to. There's no quotes. Nobody talks about this movie.
It's
It's
a
very
forgotten
Never
one.
heard of it.
Yeah.
and you're coming in cold, man. What say you?
It was an interesting watch for sure. I started watching it with my wife, and she was like, she kind of dipped out within the first 20-30 minutes. I'm like, well, I don't blame you.
When we finished it, my wife never saw it either. She said that movie sucked.
Really?
That's kind of the same sentiment, but the beginning, I think it was slow. It's very, like you said, I feel like Ridley Scott wanted to make a classic fantasy story, and that's exactly what he did. It's very by the book. Like a darkness takes over the world. Some world is thrown into darkness. An unsuspecting hero has to save it. Like it's very, very cliche fantasy stuff. But I feel like that's the weak part of the movie is just the plot overall and the story. There's not much of a story. It's this random guy from the
It's
forest
very
has to go save this girl and save the world from this darkness. But yeah, like I said, other than that, like the character design of everything was probably the biggest thing for me that I was like, that kept me going through this movie. Just those weird fucking goblins, his elf friends, fucking Brown Tom and Gump and all of them. And obviously the design
Pretty good.
of darkness and Tim Curry bringing that performance as well, like fantastic. The Tim Curry was a highlight of this movie, The Darkness, for sure.
You have to see this movie just to experience his.
I mean, both of your
one
quotes were
his-
from The Darkness, which it's the best part of this movie, hands down.
Anytime he's on the screen, you can't help but look at him. Like,
Yeah.
dude.
Well,
he is.
I like it.
Character design on him is amazing.
They tease him a bit, like right in the beginning. They have him like kind of shadowed. You can't really see the full get up. So you don't
In
get
the
the full
European
effect.
version, you don't see him until he walks through the mirror and reveals himself in the like third act of the movie.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
The
crazy.
American
cut.
one, they did, and that's why he's got like blue eyes or green eyes and green
Right.
fingernails, like
Yeah.
he's in a rave.
Right.
I thought he was just hiding out in the darkness, and he was just.
No, he's just like moaning. He's like,
He's got those eyes.
"Oh, I'm alone in my solitude."
He's so
He's lonely.
perfectly overacts it though. Where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it gives it.
I mean,
that
that's Tim Curry.
campiness. It's,
Yeah.
He's got that.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
smeared on thick. I mean,
But
I
yeah,
didn't
Eric, like-
remember much of this movie. Like I remember
Oh, really? Oh,
The-
when was the last time
Tim
you saw
Curry's
it,
got
Dave?
probably when I was like 7 years old. I'm guessing it's been a long time. I didn't, and I was definitely impressed with all the practical. Like there's always wind blowing. There's always something floating in the air. There was
I love like the
cool use
painted
of
like
lighting.
the painted sets too were beautiful. Like it gave it a very fantastical, like magical look.
Yeah. For sure, but yeah,
Well,
I didn't remember
believe
the action or
set-
anything.
I think I think they made a legit forest.
Oh yeah, I
They
believe
made a
that.
big
Like
set to
I'm
film
talking,
all
yeah,
those shots.
like the
The
shots of
actors-
like the tree and stuff. Those looked painted. I don't know if they were,
Oh,
and like
yeah.
some of the
With the
background.
sunset in the background.
Yeah,
The actress lady,
Yeah.
what was it, Lily? She was
Lily?
saying that they
Yeah.
had like 400 birds like indoors in that set because they're flying all around, all over the place while they're
Shit
filming.
everywhere.
Oh wow, yeah.
Probably, yeah, that's a cleanup. But I don't know, Brandon. How was you going? When was the last time you saw this?
In about 20 years,
Okay,
college, early days of college, so probably 23 years maybe. So yeah, I was trying to show my roommates and this movie. I remember I was watching like, what the hell is this? And they weren't hot on it. They never saw it. They weren't really crazy about it, but they also said at the time like it looked cool. Like it looked
Yeah.
good though. Like it was cool to look at. Just didn't really like the story. And I'm like, as a kid, you just watch what you watch and then you like it because it's like you just like it. Like Willow probably
Right.
is that, right? It had some standouts, right? Like Val Kilmer was excellent in that movie, and so was Warwick Davis.
Mhm.
Those two were great. Not in a great movie, but they were great. And I think this movie, Tim Curry, is a standout. It's like you have to see
Yeah.
it just to. But not only him, but I also want to do a shout out to that monster lady thing in
Oh,
the.
you're talking about Meg
pond?
Mucklebones or whatever?
Oh, in the pond, yes.
Yeah, it's in the European version, which I remember as a kid, is much longer.
It's like
He has
it's
to, like,
almost 2
flirt with
hours.
it.
It's like an
Oh,
extra
really?
half hour
Oh,
worth.
Yeah.
god damn! Wow, they must
Oh,
cut
yeah,
out
The
a lot.
American version is an hour and a half, I believe, and
It's a tight 90 minutes.
I would like the little bit more that the European
yeah, I think it
version
would
would,
benefit
like
from that.
flesh out the world a little bit, like because I don't know, this version felt rushed. Like you're kind of just jumping from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're in the darknesses castle and
Mhm.
just run around.
I
doing
mean,
shit.
you could run through the plot in 2 seconds. Like, Jack and Lily are romping around in the forest. The goblins
Yeah.
kill the
Hold
unicorn.
on.
They
When they were romping, there were other people. Their goblins were watching them. Like,
Oh yeah,
hang
they
out
were
and
getting
dry
off
hump
on
in
it
the
for sure.
forest.
Goblins,
okay.
the
I just
goblins
wanted
wanted to watch for absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure I caught that.
Yes,
Wasn't the
yes.
only one.
Yeah. Lily gets kidnapped. Jack has to go save her. That's the plot. And
You don't touch the goddamn unicorns.
kill the darkness. Right. Don't touch the
'Cause-
unicorns.
Because really, what did that fucking do though in the grand scheme of things? Did it actually do anything? No, it was the goblin with the
Well, she
poison dart.
basically lined up the shot for the goblins because she was reaching out to the unicorn and like making it
Seems like
come towards her, you know.
Scapegoating a poor young girl who just wanted to pet a horse.
It's a fairy tale. It's like,
Yeah.
I know.
why is there, I don't know. Like, that's like, and it definitely feels like a fairy tale. One thing I noticed, I've never noticed this before, but there is like lousy closure on, I don't know, characters. Like, what happened to some characters? What happened to some plot lines? So
They waved at the end. They waved and then that was it.
It's just-
we're happy
That's
now.
the closure that you get. Like,
okay. So all right, for
The
example,
darkness is gone.
for the first half of the movie, we are not really dealing with the darkness at all because he found, or he sent 3 goblins to go out and do his bidding.
Yeah.
So you really are with this one that rhymes a lot, Pox or whatever her name is.
Blix.
Blix or Blix,
Mhm.
Blix, yeah, Blix. And Blix is going out doing stuff and leading the other 2 idiots, and she like kind of more or less is the one that does the deed, right? Takes out the unicorn, does everything, sets up the story from the movie, and then they disappear about halfway into the movie, and we never see them again.
That
It's not
is
like
true.
they died; they were just
I
like
didn't
they're
think of
just
that.
we don't see, or there's no. And the woman that is with Lily in the beginning, talking to her,
Yeah.
kind of scolding her a little bit, tell her to grow up and like behave or whatever. I don't know. And they're frozen. Her and some random guy in that house, which we never met,
Yeah, that's
are
probably her husband or something. Yeah.
frozen to death. Do they come back? Because like the only closure we get is in the American version. Jack takes the unicorn's horn back, stamps it back on, and it comes back to life. And then
That was Gump.
Is that who
was
You
did
put
doing
the
that?
horn back
yeah.
on? Okay.
Gump did that?
Tom Cruise
Okay.
was off trying to make out in the woods some more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, there's so many edits and so many versions to this movie. One version, him and her run off together in the sunset and it ends, and then the other one is just him running off by himself.
Really? That's a weird
They
ending,
do
too.
They do the lousy. So it's funny because like the movie starts off with this exposition,
Yeah.
and it's like paragraph. I mean,
It
it's
is
like,
a
it's
lot.
a long bit,
Yeah.
and it's like they did a poor job explaining the world building, in making the rules of the
Yeah.
world. So they do some of that in the beginning, but then at the end of the movie, you look back and I'm like, it just kind of ends. Like it's in a cool. Like I like the third act. I think that's probably the strongest
Oh, yeah.
part is
Agreed.
when you're with Tim Curry and the dancing of the dress and that weird goblin like kid like thing on the table. Like everything's shot very well. Like I would say Ridley Scott is really good at shooting at dark in the dark. Like he can say, like obviously with Alien he crushed that, and that's got a lot of bright and dark moments, and this did as well.
Oh,
So
the big ass fire
hooks you.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Cool shadows, cool lighting.
Yeah, there were
Pillars,
good
like, and
shots.
all those backgrounds where you're like walking. She was running to that room or whatever, and you're just following her across with this long shot as it's going past all the pillars. And
Yeah,
stuff
the
like
set
that.
designs, especially within
Yeah.
like the darknesses domain, were really cool. But yeah, going back to your point, Brandon, I think that's why a lot of this movie fell flat for me was like the world building. There was basically none of it, so I didn't feel connected to this world in any way. It's like, yeah, it's a cool looking fantasy world, but it's very like generic. Like I don't know anything about it. I don't really care what's happening in this world. You're giving me this exposition of why I should care, but it doesn't make me care about what's, really happening on the
It's a
screen.
fairy tale.
Yeah.
Fairy tales are always super light on the details, so it's just like, some fucking kids in the woods, some witch, bang bang, that's some of the guys.
There's
Whatever.
no like this movie doesn't come close to the writing that we had in Lord of the Rings, where like you're as a man, you're tearing up when you hear Aragorn go, "I would follow you to the very depths of Mordor," and it's just like, oh my god, this movie is fucking amazing. And this movie, there's like no lines that hit you
Right.
until the fucking bad guy shows up, and it's like, you know what? Obviously he's the bad guy. He's stealing this woman. He's destroying the world. Clearly the bad guy. But he's like the only one that's really
He's just
interesting
looking
in
for
this whole movie.
love. He's
Yeah,
got that charisma, a bad guy
Dude,
charisma.
The table
He
scene,
does.
the table scene when he's like trying. I love it. He's like, he's like, sit. This guy don't want to. He's like, sir. He's just stampers. He's like, or stand.
Right?
It's just
Oh
like,
my
trying to
god, that's so
control
good.
himself. Dude, I fucking love it. But like he talks to his dad in the beginning of the movie. He talks to his dad. His dad gives him some advice, just like, you know what you got to do. And he's just like talking to his dad, the fireplace pit like thing, whatever. But then never again.
That
I
was
don't know.
that
This
was
movie is
weird.
so
Yeah,
clunky.
it's all over the
It's got
place.
potential, but just
Like,
a mess.
is this movie rife for a remake? Like a
I
solid,
think that would
legit.
be fucking cool. Go
Like
on.
you could flesh out a lot of the world. Like, what is she the princess of? Is there anybody else in this world other than this fucking lady in a hut? You know, elves, fairies. You got the little pixie that flies around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's
Right.
up with the rest of her peeps? You know, I
Right.
think at a certain point there was more written on it. That's kind of why I wanted to like investigate the European version to see what like a half hour of a movie. That's a good
Yeah.
chunk. Like
Yeah.
on a movie so short.
I
So.
think you could do
She
a lot.
sings in the European version.
The
She has
Stings
songs.
people?
Who?
Oh, sings.
She
The
sings.
fairy?
She sings.
Una?
No, Lily.
Oh,
Lily.
Lily.
Sings. Yeah, she
Interesting.
sings in the movie. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think this would
Sometimes.
be ripe for a remake because it's already such a blank slate. Like you could do so much with it, you know.
Yeah, really.
Like you could kind of if you could get a good director who knows what they're doing with this type of movie, like fantasy movie, like you could take it in really any direction that you
Peter
want to. I don't know if it. Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know if it should.
I don't know.
I don't know if it should be like a remake or like a I don't know.
Reimagining.
Yeah, like a reimagining. Like I wouldn't want to I don't want them to retell the same story. I'd want them maybe use the world, flesh it out a little more, like you were saying, and then tell a different story.
Anime remake.
I mean, you know me. I'm always for anime. They're coming out with that
Medieval
anime Lord of the
fantasy
Rings
shit is
movie.
always cool with anime. I'm always a sucker for that. Like I know like it does all types
Yeah.
of settings, but I do like a good anime that has like a fantasy vibe going on, and I feel like
That would be cool.
the encounters with the creatures could be the highlight, because that's the highlight of the movie. Like, to abandon these amazing creature designs, the concept's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. It's just that they just did not put it in the oven long enough. They just made like a cake and they put no frosting on it.
You know
Like,
what?
boom.
I
Or
think you're gonna
maybe
do it.
frosting,
I
but like
think
nothing inside for flavor.
you got to do it, and you got to make it like trippy as shit, though. Like it's still got to
This is pretty ass
feel
trippy.
like a
This is trippy.
fantasy. Like
Yeah.
remember Alex Garland when he did Annihilation was what made me think of it. Is like how they're in that like fucking whole other world, and everything is like trippy and weird, like that kind of feeling that he
What if
evoked
he
there.
did it?
Yeah, get an Alex Garland.
Annihilation is
Sure, yeah.
incredible. That
could-
wole ending.
you
scene.
could-
Like,
you
just
could
the
turn it-
visuals and that.
Yeah, you could turn it even more like dark a little bit, you know. I mean, this was like dark fantasy, but make it like
Pretty dark for kids,
Dark,
man.
yeah.
Like,
you know what I was thinking
My
about
kids
the whole
would like
time I was watching this movie? The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, okay. You do get that
Yeah.
vibe from Tommy Cruise.
And I was thinking like it's a very similar premise.
help it.
You know, like a darkness befalls this world and an unsuspecting hero has to save it. And save
All he
even
needed was the green
save a
hat.
princess. Yeah. He gets a fucking sword, he gets his armor and
Yes,
shit.
sword. Yeah, that's right.
And he
That's
goes to
cool.
defeat
Yeah.
this evil to save
That's
the
a good
world.
connection.
But I was thinking to myself, like, how come I love The Legend of Zelda so much, but like I didn't really connect with this movie. And it's what we've been talking about. It's just like the world building and like there's a history at this
Boring
point
dialogue from
with
the-
Zelda and
Yeah.
everything. But it's just that world is so much more fleshed out than what was presented here, which I think that's the main point of why like this movie again fell a little flat for me. But you know, there is potential here to make something great because like this premise has been around as long as like you know fairy tales have been around, which
Right.
is a long ass time. So yeah, there is potential to make something great here.
Well,
That's
speaking
that's
of
cool.
like, we haven't mentioned it. Like the elephant in the room, Tom Cruise. Like I'm counting here. It's his
Yeah.
6th or 7th acting role, and he is fairly young in this.
Yeah, he's
He was
24
fine.
in this.
Is it 24?
Yeah.
His
Yeah, I think
teeth
he's
are
very
bigger than his
forgettable in
head
this.
I didn't
back
think his
then.
performance was great. Like I don't know.
It's
A lot of the
No,
acting
very-
from everybody except like the goblins and Tim Curry was pretty cheesy, I thought.
Well,
Especially
he's playing his Jungle Boy role.
Right.
Like he kept walking around on all fours, and I was kind of.
well, I thought this was gonna be like a Tarzan situation where he like was raised in the forest and didn't know how to talk, and like Lily was
we
gonna
don't know because there's no world building.
Right,
He's just, like,
exactly.
this guy in
that
the
would have been
woods,
more
out of the
interesting.
tree.
That would have
in the
been more
woods.
interesting.
Yeah, I know because like, is he some kind of a god or a child of a god? Because like, there's nymphs and and goblins and
Right, all kinds of
fairies and
magical.
I thought he would be like a ranger class because he seems like or a druid because he's
well, he's
He
good
knows
with
the
animals.
woods.
yeah animals and woods and that kind of nature.
He speaks to
kinda stuff.
animals. That's a good point. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, think about the '80s, right? When did Dungeons and Dragons come out? 5 years before
70s,
this,
Mhm.
70s,
right?
Yeah.
sometime.
All right, well, something like that, like before this, though. But it was so new, and this is, to me, breaking ground for what a fantasy could look like. You also
That's
have
true.
George Lucas doing, his fantasy stuff. I don't know when Willow came out, but it came out after this. But I think fantasy
it
just
after
did
this?
not have.
Willow was
I believe
88,
so.
88. Okay.
so
Yeah.
3 years after this.
Fantasy just did not have a good time in the '80s. But this movie at least looks good.
Well,
It
a lot
does-
of
Again, the
does
creature
look good.
design is really good.
you
And even
need-
those stupid dwarf guys, like whatever, those idiots, those bumbling
Brown
guys are-
Tom and fucking
Yeah, they look-
Screwball.
they look
Pig-
good.
pig-
Like they
pig
had
guy,
good
yeah.
animatronics or whatever they had on prosthetics. Or something.
that's kind of what you gotta have for something like this because like there was no CG really back
Mhm.
then. You had a lot of practical sets, but like that's part of like fantasy is like you got to have that cool magical shit. Or Willow was starting to pull it off a little bit because they were starting to get some
Make it
weird shit going on
believable.
there. But
Yeah.
I bet it's gotten easier as special effects have come. a
Oh,
long
yeah.
way.
Speaking of those characters, what did you guys think of the? I don't know, like total like violent scenes of people being whipped in front of fires and
Oh, yeah.
screaming.
Right in the beginning,
you got
the-
like this guy with like, like his like coming like. You have Tim Curry's character just going like, "I yearned for a woman," and he's just like, "That's the scariest depiction of a devil I've ever seen in a movie." I think, and this is painted as a family movie, but then you'll have these characters who are acting like total goofballs with like these silly voices.
Yeah,
and they get like,
that's true.
"Oh, you guys shot in me head, but it was just me jar," and I'm just like, and the one's like, "Oh, and like a pirate or not like a pirate, Popeye character like in the group with an Irish accent. It was just like the sense of humor, but the horror scenes.
Yeah,
in
the
same
tone
movie
is
just
is all over the place. Yeah.
clashing.
Well, right
yeah.
right in the beginning, there's a guy on like a table getting like chopped with a fucking axe, or
Yeah,
something,
and they
or
were
beat
on
with
that
a
for
stick or
they're on
something.
that
Yeah,
for a little bit.
yeah, they lingered on that for sure because they're literally like capturing people and fucking making pies out of them. Like what the fuck?
Right.
They're cooking them. He's like,
Hey.
"You'll be barbecue. Stay in
Devil's
here."
got to eat.
Yeah, right.
I like how it was literally just a pie, and it was just like a person in the pie.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I had
you
a
know,
I
no
have a
culinary
question.
taste there.
A question
Yeah,
about that guy.
You got to chop it up and skin the meat first before you put it in the pie. I'm sorry, they're just being lazy down there. All right.
So that guy that was in the dungeon, he
Yeah.
was in with like the goblins in the beginning, right?
I
The
don't know
dude with
why
like the
he was
helmet on.
friends with. I
But
don't know why
but
he was
then
working with them, but he's friends with the other ones.
but
I
then
don't
yeah, he takes
know.
his helmet off and he's like, "Oh, brother, like what the like is he
Was
an
he
elf
enslaved
too?
maybe, and he just like, yeah,
Like
you
was
know,
he
sent to die.
undercover? Like yeah,
He
these are
was
the
captured at some point, or no? He was the
he
one
got
that
thrown
got pulled
down a
down by the
pit.
mummy.
Yeah, he got thrown
Yeah,
down like a
and the
pit.
zombie-like thing. What
Oh,
happened to
okay.
that thing? Because it went down there with him.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
It's
forgot about. I
very,
didn't know that
very
those were
messy.
this connected.
Yeah, like why
Yeah.
who is that guy? Why does he know these other characters? It was very odd.
And why does he say adios amigos?
I don't
Why
fucking
did he
know.
say that?
I don't know.
Why did he
I don't
say
even
adios
remember.
amigos? It's
I
just
do
a
not remember that
fantasy
part.
movie. I understand it's not real, but like that makes no sense. That made
Right? They're not
absolutely
playing
no
by
sense. They were like
the
some producers
rules.
were like, and have them say, I don't know, what are the kids saying these days? Adios amigo. You know, they do it like this. Why is that in the movie?
I think they should have thrown
Noted.
in a couple more like I think it would have made this movie better if there was more humor in it. Like I feel like those elf characters like Brown Tom and Screwball, they were kind of like the comedic relief a bit, but there should have
Not
been
enough
more of
mixed
that.
together, though.
There should have been more of that
Yeah.
stuff. Like I don't know. It's a silly world. Just have fun with it. It seemed like it was trying to take itself too seriously. But I don't know. Just the tone, like you said, was kind of all over the place.
Did not know what it was going to be, and I think he did that on purpose. But I think Ridley Scott just had, I don't know, too much money maybe at the time.
Too much
And he
money,
wasn't
too many
working with a-
different ideas. I don't know.
Too
Yeah,
many
Yeah, because like
drugs.
think about it, like obviously there's payoffs with the costume design, but
right.
I mean, if you give him a limited budget, he gets very creative, and somehow he makes really good movies.
Mhm.
You give him all this money, and then it's like, what happened? So I just feel like he just had too much money. Like
Because
half of this would have been plenty.
when I was watching the behind the scenes stuff, he was talking with the guy that wrote the book, screenplay, whatever you want to call it. But he was coming up with ideas like, what if we made Jack's skin green? And the author's just like, what? And he's like,
What the
green like a
fuck?
lizard? And he's like, yeah, green like a lizard, yeah. And then the author guy's like, so this has other implications. It sounds like a client trying to make changes. Like
Right?
you have to explain to the
Yeah.
client like why the changes don't make sense, or like
Right.
why it's not a good idea. Maybe you haven't thought this all the way through. So it could maybe it's just he wanted to make something of this ilk, but it's maybe just not uninspired because there's so much good stuff in here, but it just wasn't put together in a nice tidy package. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. I asked my kids what they liked, and they were like, the end pretty good, beginning not so good.
That's
And
how I
then,
felt.
Luke,
I agree
Luke
with
gave it
them.
like a 6, and Haley gave it like an 8 or something like that. And I'm like, not good, but not bad was the general consensus around the family here.
The second half was basically was stronger for sure. Like I think it started out pretty slow, and like it doesn't grab you right away, and I feel like any movie that we said it before, but any movie that starts with a fucking wall of text that you have to read, I'm like, all right, just show, don't tell, just get on,
Right.
get on
Think
with the
about how
You gotta
movie.
know
Star
about
Wars
the
started. I mean, well,
unicorns.
they had fucking like crawl 2 in it, but I just like how Darth Vader just burst through a door. I need those plans, and
Right.
they're just killing people left and right. And she's like, I don't know, and these robots sneak out, and it's just
Star
like,
Wars,
whoa,
yeah,
what's going on? This movie's just like, I want a woman, and then we just see like a girl out there hanging out with Tom Cruise, and there's a, I don't. It's just like the storytelling is just so.
the
funky.
unicorns
Why the
hold the
fuck?
power.
only happy in the darkness.
Dude.
It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. He is so good in this movie. All right, so Eric, would you? Because like Dave and I, we have, we have nostalgic eyes for this.
Yeah.
So it's hard. But for you, for people who like movies and maybe people who like fantasy movies,
Yeah.
would you ever say, "Hey, oh, dude, I would love to see another fantasy movie. I've just seen them all, And like, oh, you've seen like, oh, I've seen them all, man.
Oh,
I've
you've
seen
seen.
Willow,
I got
but
one
they
for you.
don't, they didn't see Legend. And like, what if I told you Ridley Scott made a movie? It's like Ridley Scott did not do a fantasy movie. You're talking about Robin Hood? No, not that shit. He did one with Tom Cruise. What? Fucking in the mid '80s, bro. He made a movie with Tim Curry, and he looks awesome. Not the best story, but you should check it out. Do you think you could, or do you be like, steer clear from it, man? You don't.
I would say fast forward to about
waste your
45
time.
minutes into the movie and watch the last 45 minutes.
Go on YouTube and type Tim Curry legend scenes.
Yep, that's it. That's all you need to
Right?
watch.
And maybe what was the water woman? The Maggie? What was her name?
Oh, Meg Mucklebones, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a good name too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at on IMDb here, and people are saying that the director's cut of this version is way better than the American version.
Okay.
But
Very interesting.
I believe it.
so
Yeah.
I'm curious. I think we should, at least not for the show or anything, but keep it in the back of your minds. Maybe I can
Yeah.
find a copy of it somewhere out on
A
there. on the
catch-up
internet.
episode.
Be interested to see
Yeah.
what they, what else is in there. Like what did they cut out? Because they must have cut it down pretty significantly to make it only 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You
And
There's probably a lot of mixed things with the producers interrupting, his creative vision and
yeah.
yeah, see what he was really intending to put out there. So I think that could
don't
be
give him $25 million though. Sometimes
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Although he got a lot of money for Gladiator and he pulled in a shit ton of money for that, but that was
That's
obviously
an
a
epic.
dialogue movie.
Like,
that's an epic. They did
yeah.
a lot of things right. Nobody's really making Roman movies at that time. At all really at that point. So
Side tangent about Gladiator. I mean, you guys know I've loved that movie, but I guess for the first one they like erected this huge like Coliseum.
yeah,
But apparently
he gets practical effects.
Apparently for the second movie, the Gladiator 2 that's coming out, they built the same Coliseum in the same location as the first movie or the second movie.
Okay.
Which
just
I
put
thought
it
was
back
pretty
together.
cool.
It's like reconnecting
Okay.
all the Legos. It was
Yeah.
probably sitting on some back lot, like underneath a tarp somewhere.
I don't know, man, but
Somebody's got to get all the wood back out.
I thought that was cool. Because I watched like a thing with Russell Crowe somebody asking him like why he wasn't involved with the second one, and he was kind of explaining all this stuff about it. So, but I just thought that was a cool little tidbit.
me.
I think that was the kind of the general sentiment around it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the sets on Gladiator, I think, like imagine that kind of CG and love and craft that's put into that set, but put that into Legend. And
Yeah.
let's see him punch that one up. My kids asked me if there was a Legend 2 too after this, so I'm like,
No.
they didn't get that. They didn't think that far ahead.
Just watch Lord of the Rings.
I mean, there are a couple sets. You got the forest sets. You got the one where he jumps off the thing into the water, and then you got like the Dark Tower, maybe the house or whatever. But
Yeah.
each one is like, it's beautiful in its own right between like the shots and the practical effects. You always got snow blowing, or like in the very beginning, there was so much of that
And bubbles.
Bubbles,
Lots of
light
glitter.
blur,
Lots of
there was
glitter.
stuff
Glitter.
flying through
Like
the
that
air.
fairy.
Mm-hmm.
She always had like glitter on her with some
Somebody
crazy
sitting
80s hair.
over the camera just doing one of these.
Even
things, just
the
fucking dumping it
darkness's
all over.
hooves, they had glitter on them.
Mm.
You notice
Hey.
that? There was glitter everywhere, man.
That's how you know it's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know
novel.
it's
Like the
80s.
unicorn's horn was all shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Why Blix didn't like stab the unicorn? He just cut off his horn. It's like he'll be fine. He'll die eventually. He'll get to it.
The horn is
Stuff
the
her
power. That's where all the power is stored.
Well, I
Well,
guess
he was like using it as like a fucking wand. Blix was after he cut it off. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's what I thought Jungle Boy was gonna do to the darkness at the end.
That
of
would
the
have been
movie.
cool. You just stabbed him with it.
So wand him, but yeah, he was just like a dagger throw.
Yep.
Dude doesn't even know how to use a sword, and he's chucking unicorn horns like he's throwing around at darts.
What is this black void oblivion that the darkness fell into? Like where did that come from?
It's the void, you know.
It's the darkness.
You don't have one
I
of
don't
those
know.
in
I
your
thought he
in
seemed
your
like he was
basement?
already banished. Like the way they kind of set it up is like there's a balance,
Yeah.
and the balance is darkness wants to take over the world, but everything is protected by the unicorns.
It's like the Force.
I don't know what it
It's
is.
like the dark and the light in the Force.
Didn't
And that's
you
it.
read the plot summary in the beginning of the movie?
Right, and then it goes like the weakness, like the unicorns are immortal or something like that. Like they can't be harmed and they protect everything. Like it's that's what they say. But all it took though was just like sending a goblin with like a fucking dart and then
Yeah, that's what I was
down it
thinking.
goes.
For the
Like, why
unicorns,
does her like touching it have anything to do with that? They were gonna do that without her. Like, you just wait for it to take a shit, and then
if the unicorns are the only source of light
sleeps.
if the unicorns are the only source of light in the world, why are they so easy to kill? To catch and
Why are there
kill.
two?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Where are the
only
others?
two.
Well, there was a mare and a stallion, so they should be like mating and making baby unicorns. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Right.
I've never
Yeah, it's
birthed a
funky
unicorn.
stuff.
Sounds like a tough process.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't know Ridley Scott had brothers that also make movies. I just don't pay attention to names. So he has a brother, Tony Scott. I think Tony Scott did he do Top Gun? Yeah, Top Gun, Man on Fire, Beverly Hills Cop 2. And then Frank
Ooh.
Scott is his other brother, and I don't know if
Frank.
he did anything else, but crazy. Yeah, it's just
Hmm.
cool. I didn't know that there's a director with another, like a brother that was making other. I don't know. So
And
thought that was pretty neat. They both
it
worked with
is-
Tom Cruise. I think one brother did a better job with Tom Cruise than the other.
Yeah.
So sorry,
lady,
Ridley, if you think you make good movies.
Mia Sara that played Lily, like she was married to Sean Connery, but she was also in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh, she married
Yeah.
Jason Connery, Sean Connery's son.
Oh.
And they got divorced, and she's married to Brian Henson, the son of Jim Henson.
Oh, good for him. Cool.
So
She likes the
She's only in
sons of famous people.
yeah, Ferris Bueller and Time Cop were some of her other famous movies.
So I looked this up because I was like, when did these other movies come out? So I was looking at these movies. This came out in '85. I think Labyrinth and Ferris Bueller also came out the same year, just like months apart. Like
Wow.
after this movie. This movie came out. So she was like a nobody probably when this movie came out, but then she was the girl that was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a huge hit.
Big one, yeah.
I gotta go back and
yeah.
watch that.
And
It's been a
Labyrinth
while.
is just like
Yeah.
that's probably one of the more favorable, if not the most favorable, fantasy movie in the '80s. I don't know if at the time that movie was well liked, but it has grown to cult status where I think it's generally accepted that people like that movie.
Hey, you put singing Muppets in it, everybody will like it.
Bowie.
Yeah.
Although I would
David
say, as
Bowie.
good as Bowie is in Labyrinth, I think Legend has the better antagonist. He just needed to be in it more.
Yeah.
He needed to be teasing Jack about the unicorn or something like that. There was
Just
no
make a whole
urgency, just,
movie
like,
about the
shitting around.
darkness and how he's woeing in his cave.
Oh my god, please. That's a great character just sitting there to be used, man.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
sitting there. That design.
And
that design.
listen, there was a
Giant fucking
tease
horn.
at the end. You know, the darkness is never.
Oh, he's like,
where there is light, there's always darkness.
Never
So
find me.
yeah, he's not. He's still around.
Yeah, banished not out of space, but then he's just like Superman at back.
He's not. Yeah, he's coming back, baby.
Yeah.
You know,
I did like
it
the
was
black version in the beginning. Black version with the green eyes. Like it was like a alternate fighter costume or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. The red guy, yeah, he's very, very demony
Just
though.
sitting there, 10 feet away from somebody being tortured, sitting there bored. Oh, I'm horny and lonely.
Keep it down over there.
It's like,
Can't keep my thoughts to myself.
like, I don't know. It's an interesting character because, like, why are you horny? Like, do you have a weenie? And you were designed to
Of course
have
he does.
a mate.
Dude, he's got
But
to
then
have a
fucking
monster,
devil.
Designed to have a mate.
monster cock.
So why doesn't he have a mate? Did she die? And she died a long time ago. Like, what happened to? Why is he alone? Why does he have these?
Maybe it's like a
feelings?
vampire. Like a vampire
He's
at
probably-
a certain age
yeah,
needs some sort of companionship.
He's probably
Somebody to
well.
talk to.
I'm assuming he's an eternal
It
being.
wasn't sexual. It was just he just wanted a female companion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody to torture these people with.
I'm assuming he's had other mates in the past, but maybe it's been a few millennia since he's had somebody, so he's getting lonely.
And he picks the
Right.
first girl that walks into his castle.
Yeah, right.
He's like, "You will do."
Oh, she's the one for me. Let's take her, seduce her.
All right, so hold on. So now I'm thinking this out. So he's like, I'm darkness and I'm lonely, but I'm also darkness and I want to take over the world. Right? He's got two motives.
Yeah, he wants her to
He
be
wants,
his.
like,
He wants
destroy-
her
So
to be his queen when he takes over the world. You know, they can do it. They
How
can
did-
rule
all right,
together.
But plan one was to go take out the unicorn, right? Or no? Like, what was that's
Well,
why he that's
to
what he
bring
wanted.
darkness
That's
to
how
the
he
world.
that's how he takes over the world.
Right.
Is by
I think.
But she just happens to be icing on the cake. Like
I
an
think that-
opportunity, like, oh, I happen to be horny and like you're there and you're attractive, so I'm just gonna take
In
you
more
and
way
get
the-
you
Yeah,
as well.
I think that's a
more in more ways
tertiary
than one.
plot there. Like she just came along. She just when she came along, he was just like, "Oh, I gotta have her," you know. So I don't know why.
Once she dyed her hair black,
I guess because the darkness never told the goblins to like capture a woman for him, but for some reason they decided to capture her and bring her back. I don't know why they did that, but you know,
they had a net
they
on
did.
them. They might as well use it. Like
They might as well
Oh.
use it. Yeah, right.
boss is always saying he's horny for some chicks, so let's bring this one.
She'll
back.
do.
Yeah,
Everybody else was
yeah,
frozen
yeah.
except for her.
You know what though? Like you can tell he's out of touch with women though, because he was so bad with her. We already talked about how he got upset. It's like sit or stand, all right. He like, all right, like he's like trying to control his. And I get that part, but like he he's arguing with her. And she's like, I would never touch you. I would nothing do to you. No, don't want it. And he's just like, oh. But then he like runs at her, and then she starts laughing. She's like, can I kill the unicorn?
Yeah,
And he's just
right.
like, okay. So
Yeah,
then
darkness
she's
is
like,
kind of an idiot.
Don't
like,
forget
you're
that.
kind of a dummy.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of naive, man. So then the next scene is like they're at the unicorn and everyone's just like, bro, she's gonna kill the unicorn. You gotta kill her. Like, I'll do it if you don't want to. And Jack's like, he would never, Lily. You would never do it. So like, all right, so Jack is like in love, so he knows her, I guess, which makes sense. He does know her. They have some kind of, but like
That little elf dude
Arctis
was fucking
just-
not helping.
nobody knows yet. Nobody knows her. They don't know her.
The
So
little
all
elf
right, the
guy's
elf
like,
is, I
fucking
don't know if
shoot
she's
her. Like he's
and
just
he
yelling
doesn't know
in
her,
his
so
ear.
he from his perspective, it looks like she's gonna
Fucking
do it, right?
shoot her. Yeah.
But darkness is just like, okay, you
Shoot her.
can do it. Just because she started laughing, just because
Yeah.
she started laughing,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, she's actually kind of crazy. It's not like she drank the wine or anything. Like she didn't eat any of it. So she went literally from like, I would never touch you in a billion years to, oh my god.
Yeah,
Maybe-
everything's fine now.
Maybe the darkness. He just likes the face of it. He likes the
Yeah,
not
right.
being told no, like by a sassy princess. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
always everybody's always bowing to him. Like it's probably kind of hot from a devil.
Also,
Yeah, so that's a
for,
good
for
point.
for being the embodiment of darkness itself, he's pretty easy to kill. Like Jack just like he punched him in the face and darkness like fell on the ground. I'm like, this fucking kid just decked this fucking eternal
I
being.
thought he hit him with like a sword or
But the-
something.
There was one
light,
point
though,
where he
too.
punched him in the face and darkness like reeled back. I'm like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
He was stuck
I
in
know.
that
He should've-
shitty body with those shitty abs. That he walking around with his demon six pack, just like. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
I'm-
why he's such a good evil villain, is because he's like kind of weirdly sexy.
I would
too.
love to
Like,
see
Yeah,
one
he's
of those.
totally really sexy.
I don't
I don't
know.
want to be him, man.
You said you
I
watched
mean, horns, abs. I don't know. I'd take the horns for the abs.
in the behind the
skin.
scenes thing,
Deep
Dave. Did they show like Tim Curry getting into that makeup? Because I would love to see one of those like
No.
time lapses of how long it takes to
yeah.
put
Like
on
6
all that shit.
Hours, 10
And
hours.
like, cause like maybe it's just the camera angles they use, but they make him look like he's like fucking 10 feet tall.
Like it's supposed to be like 8 feet. Yeah.
So like, I'm really curious
He
how
did-
they
did say that they
did all
weren't.
that.
It wasn't like a mask that they put on. They were all like separate prosthesis
Right.
things.
Because
that
there
they put
there was
on.
so much like
like the fucking
mobility
chin,
and
that the chin
stuff
was
in
way
the-
down. Yeah, because you could see all his facial animations, which was.
You know what was
part of
funny, though?
why he emoted so well as a demon.
You know what's funny though, and what I noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed, in the close-up shots of, Tim Curry, they show him like emoting, and you can see all his face moving. When he's like in fight scenes, it's just like a rubber mask. His face isn't moving at all, and his mouth
Yeah.
is like wide open. I'm like, that's just a stunt.
Yeah.
That's just a stunt guy in a mask. He didn't have all the elaborate makeup on. Thought that was funny.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. 80s
Yeah.
stuff, and like they're doing the best they can. And, HD wasn't really a thing at the time.
Right.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we got anything else to say about Legend?
No, it was fun to go back to though. I mean, as
Yeah.
not as great
Gotta
as
see
I
those
remembered
80s.
as a kid,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like how I would like if I went back and watched like Conan the Barbarian or something like that. Like it's not going back and watching it. It's not a good movie, but like there's a lot of love and care that went into it. So
I can
there's a lot of
see-
artistic, output put into it.
I can see why a child of the 80s would have liked this movie when it first came out. Like, if I was a kid and saw this, also, I would be like, wow, this is fucking crazy. This is awesome. Like, the character design. Like, when you're a kid, like you said, you don't really care that much about how good the story or the plot is. You're not really thinking about that stuff. You're just like, I want to see some cool shit on screen. That's how I felt
And
about
they look like what they say they are. Like they look like monsters from another world. They look real. And they, even today in HD, like they look absolutely incredible. Those two monsters, like Darkness and
that's how I feel about like the prequels. Like I was a kid when the prequels released, and I just wanted to see lightsabers on screen. Jedi's fucking fighting people with lightsabers. And that's why I think I hold the prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith, in higher regard, just because like that's what those movies delivered is fucking Jedi lightsaber action. So like that's the kind of stuff you want to see as a kid. So I can definitely see why.
And these are all kid movies that we're talking about right now.
Right, exactly.
Technically.
I had a lot of fun watching this movie. Like you said, it's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but
You were not You're not saying another masterpiece by Sir Ridley Scott.
Right, exactly. But I think it was fun, and I'm glad that I watched it.
Cool.
Nice.
I'll call that
Thanks.
a win. I think that's good.
I
I
mean,
wanted you guys to experience it. I wanted to talk about it and just chew on it, really, and just have a reason to see Tim Curry in that crazy outfit again.
I don't think there is a movie that we've watched on this show that I'm like, I'm mad that I watched that movie. Like, I'm always glad that I watched something new, even if I didn't necessarily love it. But,
Right, same.
But, all right,
Nice.
that was Legend. We'll take a little bricky break here, and then when we come back, we will we'll play a little game of Metacritic Mayhem.
Ooh, you love this game.
Oh yeah, it's coming back in a big way.
It's a hot leg.
It's a hot one. Right after this. And we are back with a little game of Metacritic Mayhem. Been bringing back this classic for a little bit now, and we're still on the Metacritic train, so let's keep it rolling. Yeah, if you don't know Metacritic Mayhem, I have 5 movies, and I have the Metacritic scores of them, and you, fine gentlemen, will be guessing the scores of them, and whoever's closest, either high or low, will get the point. So it'll be best of 5, and the theme is fantasy.
Oh, cool.
And I think we've mentioned most of these movies. There's one I threw in there, but we mentioned most of these movies during the podcast. So who wants to? Well, we'll say I'm thinking of a number, 1 through 10. Dave, what say
3.
you? Brandon,
4.
the number was 2. Dave gets to go first.
That's what you get.
Dave gets to guess first, I guess. Which, again, in this game, I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage. So either way,
Not great.
But we're starting with the titular movie of this podcast, Legend.
Oh,
What did
okay.
Legend get on Metacritic? What does
I
it
didn't
have
even
currently?
It can't be great.
This is based on 11 critic reviews.
11? That's it?
Yeah.
That can't be good.
Oh,
I'm gonna
man.
go with like
11.
a Metacritic's usually a little rough too. How about like a 55?
Okay, 55 for Dave. Brandon?
48.
Brandon, you get the point. The Metacritic score is 30.
30. Yay.
I mean, it's not a great movie.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
That's a 30.
30.
It's worth more than that just for like
I agree.
The artwork and the
Wow.
I agree with that.
all that stuff.
But yeah, that's a 30. So Brandon
Ouch.
gets the point there. So that's 1-0. And now Brandon, you'll get to guess first on this next movie.
Oh, great.
That is based on 12 critic reviews. Willow.
Your old one?
Willow.
Oh.
Oh, man. I feel like that didn't do as good. That one I want to be like, I want it to be a 78. But
no way Willow's a 78.
no way. I know. I'm going to go 54.
54? Okay. All right.
It's probably right around there. It's probably a pretty good guess. I'll
Well,
go.
at least Willow has story and characters.
Yeah,
and
I'll go a
dialogue
little
in it,
higher
you
than
know?
that. I'll go
Can't be as bad as
57.
All right. Well, Willow did score a little bit higher than Legend, with a whopping 47.
Jesus.
wow.
So Brandon
I
takes the
gotta
point
lower my
again.
expectations. Damn.
Yeah.
I know,
I haven't played this game in a while.
So there is user scores on both of on Metacritic as well. Both Legend and Willow had a 7.5 user score. So
That's a little more accurate.
yeah.
Critics are all snobby if it's not an artsy movie.
All right. Next one. Next one's a biggie. This is based on 34 critic reviews. Has a universal acclaim. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be in there.
Yeah.
This one's got to be pretty damn good. I'll go with it's Metacritic though.
I know.
If you don't like it though, then I don't like you. So I'll go with like a 83.
Okay. Brandon?
That's a really good number because that's what I was going to go with.
God damn.
I think in this game, if you just go one lower than whatever the first person guesses, like probably pretty good shape.
85.
Oh.
Wow. This one was a 92.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dave lowered his score. I feel like you went lower this time, but
Yeah, I did.
this was a 92.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's a good call, Brandon.
Yep.
Well, you went against the
Okay,
grain
well-
there.
Yeah, you got 2 other movies?
Yeah, I do. Brandon's got the 3-0, but we'll do the last 2.
Yeah,
let's-
let me at least get on the
See what happens.
board.
We'll do it real quick, yeah.
Next one, Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
Oh God, that's got to be a 95.
really? No. Wizard
I
of
can't
Oz?
imagine any list anywhere out there ever saying anything bad about that movie. It's a perfect movie,
Can't be
especially when
that
it was
good.
made in like the 30s.
I'm gonna go with
You watched-
another
1939.
83 again.
All right, based on 30 critic reviews.
3 again.
That's also a 92.
Jesus. That good? Wizard of Oz?
Yeah,
I mean, it
it's
was.
Oz,
It was
one of the
good.
all-time greats.
So good, dude. It still holds up, and that tornado coming up to the house in the opening is just so good. It's a great movie. We watch it once in a while, like once a year, once every other year, something like that. Great. It's dude. It's truly one of the best movies ever made.
I haven't watched it in a while, but
Okay.
yeah, it's timeless.
Yeah,
all right.
It really
let's
is.
not get shut out here.
Last movie. This one we did not talk about. This is only based on 7 critic reviews.
Okay.
Highlander.
Highlander.
I go first here too.
Yep.
Highlander. I mean, I don't know if I've ever even seen these movies.
The first
But-
one's the only one you need to see.
I know that they're not. It's like a weird cult following to them, but I never thought they looked that great. So I'll go with like a 44.
Oh, okay. I was gonna go with the 48.
48. All right. Dave, you took this point.
Yes.
The score is a 24, which I don't agree with that at all. I think Highlander
How
is
it
a fun movie.
Worse than Legend.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Sean
Highlander.
Connery in them all, just that first one.
That's
Just
Sean
the first
Connery.
one and the
yeah,
third one.
First one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's in
I've
the
al-
third one too.
I've only seen the first one. I've heard the other ones are terrible. Worse than the first one, but
I've seen a few of them.
I liked the first
Dudes-
one.
Dudes running around trying to cut each other's heads off.
Basically, yeah. There
There
can
can
be
only
only
be
one.
Yeah, that's everybody knows that.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that was fun. At least I didn't get shut out. It was nice to be on the other side.
You
of
got
the-
one. You got
the
one up on the
Metacritic coin.
board. There you go.
That'll do.
That's
I'll
fine.
get
That's
shut
fine.
out.
Yeah, it was a good game. And good talk about Legend. Yeah, I think, well, I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but quick programming note is we'll be taking a little bit of a break in September, and then we'll come back.
Going back to school.
Yeah, back
So
to
we just,
school. Yeah, we're all
Fantasy
been busy
football.
a
lately.
new routine.
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna
Yep.
get a little busy. And we need a break.
Yeah.
This is episode
Use a little break.
137, you know. We need a little break. A little break. We
Yep.
still got catch ups though. Always
So
got
we'll sneak a catch up somewhere in September. So look out for that, and then we'll get the schedule going for the fall season, which will be fun.
that. Ooh.
Get some spooky stuff in
Halloween
there.
stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I want to get some games on the schedule. You can maybe play a spooky game. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Might be fun, but
We'll see.
we'll see. But yeah, so that's what we got coming up. Other than that, you can find all of our stuff on socials at Nomads of Fantasy, on Twitter and Instagram. You can go to our TikTok at the Nomads of Fantasy. You can join our Discord, nomadsfantasy.com/Discord. Whatmapgame.com. Check out the game we made. But yeah, other than that, safe travels, nomads.
Peace out. Hang loose.
I am the darkness.
Come join me.